What do you feel people need to hear the most from this story?
I think that what people need to hear is just the truth. It's just the truth.
But what is the truth? Jussie Smollett, a reasonably well-known actor in America, says he was attacked by 2 Donald Trump supporters just because he's black and gay. Now police are accusing him of making the whole thing up in the hope of getting a pay rise. Well, initially, most of America's mainstream media took his word for it. So did a number of top politicians, presidential candidates no less, who called it a modern-day lynching. By rushing to judge, politicians and journalists may have made it harder for victims of hate crimes going forward. We're going to get to that in a moment, but first, here's a super quick summary of the story so far.
As I was crossing the intersection, I heard Empire, and I didn't answer. I kept walking, and then I heard Empire, and I see the attacker masked, and he said, "This MAGA country," punches me right in the face. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back, and then it just stopped, and they ran off. And then I look down and I see that there's a rope around my neck. There's a rope around my neck. And then I smelled bleach. I know the smell of bleach. I will never be the man that this did not happen to. I am forever changed. I think that what people need to hear is just the truth. It's just the truth.
At 5 a.m. this morning, Defendant Smollett was placed into custody at the Area Central Police headquarters.
He cast himself as victim, but today Jussie Smollett became the accused, charged with staging a racist, homophobic attack on himself.
Smollett's story started unraveling last week after police arrested 2 men Smollett would later say were his attackers.
Ola and Abel Osundairo, who were first identified in this surveillance photo, knew Smollett from his hit show Empire.
Those 2 guys start talking to cops, and they tell cops a story that Jussie staged this attack, and we've been planning it for days.
These 2 brothers are seen buying what appear to be a ski mask and red baseball caps.
Police believe that Jussie paid these guys $3,500 to carry out this attack.
The 2 men testified for 2.5 hours before a grand jury Wednesday.
He wanted Ola to place a rope around his neck, pour gasoline on him, and yell, "This is MAGA country."
Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations?
Police say he arranged and paid for the attack as a publicity stunt.
This stunt was orchestrated by Smollett because he was dissatisfied with his salary. Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career.
Jussie Smollett is out on bail and is still claiming he is innocent.
He is still saying 100% that he did not do this. He's doubling, tripling, quadrupling down.
Well, let's bring in our panel now, and over in Los Angeles we have Amazing Lucas. 250,000 people subscribe to his YouTube channel. James White, a Republican politician in Texas, and our Nexus regular, Jason Nichols, a lecturer in African American Studies at the University of Maryland. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Now, we are essentially confronted with 2 options, aren't we? We've got the brothers are essentially telling the truth, and Jussie Smollett staged the whole thing, or number 2, Jussie really was attacked by the brothers and he mistook them for white Trump supporters because perhaps they had masks on and shouted, "This is MAGA country." Which of these 2 options do you believe, or is there a third one? Let's go to our panel now. Jason, we're going to start with you. You know, this is all going to go to court, but before then, we have to look at the evidence. Just briefly, each of you, starting with you, Jason, what do you believe?
Well, right now, I think we don't know what to believe. There have been so many police leaks that, you know, show a little bit of unethical behavior on the behalf of the Chicago police. First, they were saying that the letter was fake and that Jussie Smollett made the letter. The FBI is refuting that. Chicago police have solved only about 5% of the non-fatal shootings in the city. So we really know that they're not necessarily the best investigators in the world. So right now, we really don't know what to believe in terms of what actually occurred. The guys are no more, the two brothers are no more credible than Jussie Smollett.
Interesting.
So right now, it's one person's word or against two people's word.
James, is that your take on it?
I really just think that this is emblematic of mainstream media advocacy, anti-Trump advocacy. I think this is what this is really about. I think the other interviewer there is absolutely right. We have a city in Chicago, city in America called Chicago, that is daily rocked with so many horrific crimes, so many horrific shootings. As a policymaker, I would really like the police and also our media to focus on those victims, those crimes.
Thank you, James. Let's go over to Amazing Lucas for a moment. You've been poring over the evidence, following the story. What's your take on it?
My take on it is, first off, I don't believe men, I don't believe women, I believe facts and evidence. And based off of the facts and evidence that we have at this moment in time, thanks to Chicago police, thanks to Jussie Smollett, and thanks to the brothers, it's leading a rational and logical person to believe that this man is guilty. That's in regards to how many cases the Chicago police have solved is completely irrelevant because every case is different. So based off of this case and the facts and evidence we have, that is the only rational conclusion to come out with.
Thank you, Lucas. Well, let's take a look at the evidence. So originally, the police took Smollett at his word and opened up a hate crime investigation. They collected CCTV video from near the scene, and they spotted these two men. In his exclusive interview with ABC, Smollett identified them as his attackers.
I don't have any doubt in my mind that that's them. Never did.
Well, using additional video from the night of the attack, including video from a taxi, police identified the two men as Abel and Ola Osundairo. The brothers told police that Smollett planned the whole attack and they'd bought the ski mask, the red baseball caps and the rope with a $100 bill from Smollett. Well, they also revealed that Smollett had paid them $3,500 to stage the attack. Here's the check made out to Abel. But Smollett says it was for a 5-week nutrition workout program, and you can see that there in the memo section. Now, while Chicago police have charged him with filing a false police report, legal experts tell us this is all purely circumstantial evidence. And even the brothers' statement to the police only carries so much weight because it's not yet sworn testimony. And yet, people are rushing to judge the other way now and are making fun of Smollett. Here's a little sample from The Daily Show.
I need to find a MAGA Trump supporter and get him to beat me up in the streets. And then I'll make more money.
But you see, where would you find Trump supporters willing to participate in this risky scheme?
I'm looking at him right now.
Thing is, it's not case closed yet. He's got to have his day in court. I want to go to Jason. Jason, at first we had people rushing to believe everything he said, and now we have people rushing the other way.
Yeah, right. I think that's absolutely correct. And I think, you know, your other guest from Southeast Texas made a great point as well. And that is that, you know, we should let the facts come out, let the evidence come out. And, you know, this idea that, you know, the fact that the Chicago police only saw 5% of crimes, if you fail anything 95% of the time, I don't trust you.
That's true. Jason, we've also heard from the Chicago police that there's more evidence to come out. According to them, it will further undermine Smollett's case, but we're yet to see that. We've dealt with the evidence as far as we can. Let's look at the motive now, and there are a number of options out there. The brothers told police that Smollett's motive was to get a pay rise and to further his career, and he was also worried about being written out of his show. They also said he was unhappy at his studio for not taking seriously a threatening letter he'd received a week before.
Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why.
Back to Jason for a moment. Jason, let's assume the Chicago police are right, the prosecutor is right, and that Jussie Smollett invoked those symbols, the noose and so on, those awful days of discrimination and segregation in the United States. Put that into context for us. Why would that be so hurtful, so damaging to the African American community?
You know, we have a history of 4,500 confirmed lynchings of African Americans in this country, and one of the big symbols of that was the rope. There was a famous song, "Strange," "Strange Fruit," which talked about, you know, black men hanging from trees like strange fruit. It's a very painful part of African American history. Of course, you have the Ku Klux Klan, which was a terrorist group, or is a terrorist group, that at one point had about 5 million members, and, you know, people lived in fear. So it is a very powerful image, a very intimidating image, and it's terrible if he actually used it in this way.
Well, that's what and let me get on to that. I want to come to you, James, for a moment. A lot of the conservative commentators say, when asked, you know, why on earth would anyone stage an attack? They say, well, it's to be a victim. And in today's United States of America, that is actually a great advantage to you. Is that an opinion you share?
Mr. Smollett, I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is a black man, a successful black man that has a level of notoriety and a level of wealth or income that most black Americans will probably never experience in their lifetime. And trying to compare him as a victim of something to a rural black young man in Texas, or an inner city young black woman or man in Houston or Chicago, to me, it's just laughable.
Lucas, I want to get your opinion here. So a lot of people in the conservative stream of the media, if you like, people like Tucker Carlson, are saying the reason why somebody in America in 2019 would want to paint themselves as a victim is because being a victim pays. Is that your experience?
Of course. Victimhood pays well in 2019. Victimhood is the new, you don't need to work nowadays. All you need to do is be a victim and then accumulate, you know, people who feel sorry for you, who feel, you know, sympathize with you, regardless if it's true or not.
Okay, well, of course, Smollett maintains he was attacked and says the attacker's motive was probably to avenge Donald Trump, who he had consistently and strongly criticized.
Why do you think you were targeted?
I can just assume, I mean, I come really, really hard against 45. I come really, really hard against his administration. And I don't hold my tongue.
And that is the explanation most of the liberal media and commentators accepted before the police revealed evidence that suggested Smollett was lying. Well, not only did many accept his account without question, they also denounced people who even queried it.
Actor and musician Jussie Smollett from the hit show Empire was attacked and beaten early this morning in Chicago.
This isn't a guy getting beat up. This is, you know, a black kid who was attacked in the street and put a noose around his neck.
Yeah.
This is horrible to report.
This is stomach-turning, mind-boggling information.
We have a media that's saying it's a debate whether or not what just happened to Jussie Smollett is a hate crime. It's absurd.
This is America in 2019.
Stunning fall today for the actor who told police he was the victim of a racial and homophobic attack.
Chicago police now saying they are no longer considering Jussie Smollett a victim, saying they want to question him again.
It was an incredible performance that got him critical acclaim across all liberal mainstream media outlets.
This plot twist is just something that is so appalling.
Something about this stank from the moment it happened.
When a story is too perfect to be true, it usually is.
I'm embarrassed to have believed him, to have supported him.
You and many others, though.
Our leaders immediately jumped to the defense of this supposedly unpopular person before even hearing the evidence.
Kamala Harris, she's a 2020 candidate. She tweeted, "This was an attempted modern-day lynching."
Everybody followed up with this. All the top Democrats were tweeting Kamala Harris to Cory Booker. It was a lynching.
Of course, it's obviously the real problem here is that the media has allowed him to get away with it.
So how did the media get this one so wrong?
They wanted to believe it.
They want to believe stories like this. Anything that comes out that they can use to malign anybody who supports the president or the president himself is gold to them.
We're now in a culture where my truth is perceived to be the truth, and it's not. Time and again now we see people where their truth, their idea of a truth, is a complete lie.
Well, let's look at the role of the media now. We'll go back to Jason Nichols. Jason, you're on quite a lot, on a range of channels. There are a range of channels trust you for your analysis, from the right to the left and everyone in between. Do you think there are serious lessons for the media to learn here?
Well, so first of all, I don't think that it's wrong that people believed that a victim who had injuries and said that they were attacked was attacked. He didn't necessarily point out any particular individuals. I think that is where you have to start to bring the doubt in. But I think giving empathy to victims is a good thing. So I don't think that they actually made some huge mistake there. And, you know, taking him at his word that he said that these people the attackers made comments, political comments. I think that, you know, that's reasonable, particularly as someone who gets death threats personally. You know, I think that it's very much reasonable to believe that he would, you know, he could possibly, you know, someone who's of a higher profile could possibly be attacked.
I understand your point, Jason, but of course he's actually, Jussie Smollett in his statement and interview is essentially identifying a portion of American society. Donald Trump supporters, white people who wear MAGA hats. Wasn't he identifying essentially a group of people?
Well, Matt, you can't necessarily sit here and tell a victim, oh, they didn't say this when you were attacked or anything like that. I think we have to show empathy for victims. That's really important.
I accept that, but what we're
asking, I don't think he
asking
pointed at any individual. He didn't say that the president committed the crime. He was saying that this is what these individuals said. And the news, I think, has a responsibility to report what it is and the facts of the case as they have them. Now, again, you start pointing at individuals, saying that it's their fault, start coming in with different kinds of analysis, that's different. That starts to get irresponsible.
Okay, let me go to James. James, what did you make of the coverage? Do you think the media has to learn a lesson here?
Well, I think there is a lesson to be learned here. But when it comes to the mainstream media's, the mainstream elite liberal media's hatred of Donald Trump, you know, this may be a lesson, a learning opportunity they may not take advantage of.
Lucas, one of the points made on conservative media is that there are thousands of shootings in Chicago every year, and the coverage of those is scant. Many of those people, those victims, died. What do you think about is there some sort of double standard going on here?
Of course there is. But let's stop with this whole victim talk. I'm tired of talking about we should have empathy for victims and victims. You want to know how you find out someone's a victim? Through facts and evidence. That's how. You don't just assume that whatever someone's saying is true. You want to know why? Because men and women lie. So guess what? We have a presumption of innocence, right? So if someone comes forward with the story, because the reason why the media ran with this is the reason why we have fake hate crimes. That's the reason why. Because people are so quick to have this knee-jerk reaction, be like, oh my God, I can't believe you believe this. I can't believe this happened to you. No, we wait until facts and evidence come out, and then we get to prove whether or not you're a victim. Now, when it comes to the media even learning from this whole story, they should have learned about this during the jump, during inauguration, when they aligned Trump's inauguration speech with Hitler. They should have learned it when they said Trump took out, you know, the MLK bus. They should have learned it when CNN had to fire people. They should have learned it when BuzzFeed had to fire people from fake news. They should have learned it during litigation, which they are currently going through right now due to fake news. What do you mean? Of course they should have learned something.
Lucas, you talk about wait and see, and that's a good point. I mean, commentators who criticise people for even questioning Smollett's account objected to the word alleged being used to describe the attack. Surely that's the appropriate word until someone is convicted. Also, conservatives complain of double standards. For example, Newsweek. Take a look at this. They didn't use alleged in the Smollett case, but they did use it to describe this incident of a conservative student being attacked, which was actually caught on camera. Back to Jason for a moment. So What are you finding when you're looking across the media? Do you find there's a bias there?
Well, I don't think so, but I will say this: that conservative kid who gets punched in the face, to me, if that kid says he's a victim, he's a victim. The only thing that I won't do is start to convict anyone of a crime in the media just because, you know, the person who allegedly did the punching. But I will say if that person feels that they were victimized, they don't have to prove that they were victimized. The people who we were talking about who get shot in Chicago, we shouldn't be like, well, I don't know, maybe he's a victim, maybe he's not. We should let the facts come
Lucas,
out.
jump in.
Oh,
You're assuming, but do you hear what you're saying? You're stating a loaded question. It would be equivalent to me asking you. It's equivalent to me asking you, when was the last time you beat your wife? Right? You're saying that the people who got shot are victims. Obviously, what I'm saying is that people are coming forward who are saying, "Hey, I am a victim. I'm a victim," without any facts or corroborative evidence. That's what I'm saying. Small, very minute details.
Break, guys. We're going to turn away from the media for a second and look at our favorite group of people, politicians. You know, we had Kamala Harris and we had Cory Booker there describing it as a lynching. You're a politician, James. Do you think their language was hasty, inappropriate, or what?
Well, absolutely. Let me tell you, as an American black man who is, who has experienced discrimination in his lifetime, who has a sensitivity and knowledge of the discrimination and the brutality that American black people have experienced in this country, I think politicians in general need to really, before they always inject race into something, I would just think they just need to be a little cautious about it. Wait until you get the facts, but focus on the issue. It would have been very appropriate for Senator Harris to say, look, I empathize with this victim. We shouldn't have hate crimes in our country, and just should have left it at that. But here's a situation where politicians believe that they need to comment on every big or small cultural issue in the country. We need to get back to a situation, regardless of who's in the White House or who's the congressman or who's running for president, that we focus on issues that matter to a majority of the people.
Thank you.
And that's what needs to be the focus on, and not stoking and trying to take advantage of racism and victimology.
Let's go back to Los Angeles and Amazing Lucas. Your hat. Let's have a look at the front.
Absolutely. The front is better. Actually, no, the back is better than the front, but
okay. Make America Great Again hat. We're going to come back to you in a minute, Lucas. Let's focus on that aspect on the story for just a moment. The MAGA hats, the Make America Great Again hats, are said to be just a patriotic slogan in favor of the president. Not according to liberals. To them, it is a symbol of Donald Trump and the racism, and it makes them furious.
The majority people of color in this campus, and you let people walk around and wear this
The president. Hey, support. I've just been asked to leave the store.
Here's where we're at. Leave the store.
Here's where you're at.
Leave the store.
Here's
Leave
where
the store.
Here's where
Leave the store.
Now, before we go back to Lucas for a final thought about why he wears that hat, let's go to Jason. Jason, just explain. We just saw a small selection there of people going absolutely nuts looking at that hat. Just explain to our viewers why it infuriates them.
Well, I think they, as you said, they connected with the president, some of his ideas, some of his policies, some of his personal actions that have been, racist and homophobic, racist, and many other things that offend people. Personally, I think it looks silly. So I don't have this big issue with it. I'm not going to get in a fight over a hat. But I think that there are a lot of people whose emotions are stoked because these are they come from communities that feel attacked by even the principle that is behind the hat and, the man that is behind the hat.
Thank you, Jason. Let's go back to Amazing Lucas for a second. You're an African-American. It's maybe surprising for some of our viewers to see you wearing a MAGA hat. Why do you wear it?
I wear it because I believe in what it says, make America great again. I think the severe reaction from people is just emblematic of the ignorance of people and the propaganda that is the media, where we have 90% of the coverage is negative. So people have actually believed that the man's a Nazi, that the man's a Hitler, that the man's homophobic or racist. So if I had that perception, yeah, I would probably be triggered too if I saw one wearing that hat.
But your thoughts on President Trump in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, I think his heart is in the right place. He may not be the most eloquent speaker, but he shoots from the hip. And that, you know, when you hear people constantly saying homophobic, transphobic, bigoted, racist, and all that, all they're doing is literally campaigning for Trump 2020. They might as well just give him the presidency again right now. That's what they're doing.
Make America great again. That was a campaign slogan. I've heard other presidential campaign slogans. Keep hope alive or change. But make America great again is being associated by mainstream liberal media and cultural elites as racist. And the reason why is because fundamentally they want to turn the American principles, the American values upside down. They really don't want to make America great again. They're globalists and they're trapped in this globalist liberal view.
Boom. And look at Jason, another conspiracy theory debunked on the Nexus. Jason, James, amazing Lucas, thank you all for your contributions. And thank you at home for watching. You want to see this episode or other ones, please check out our YouTube channel. But for now, thank you. See you next week.